In this video, we're going to look at a couple more odd one out questions. Let's quickly move on to the first question. You can pause the video here and solve the question. As you can notice, sentences are slightly longer, so please don't just be bothered about the answer, because we're going to discuss how to read the sentences as well. It's quite important we read it the right way, and we'll take every possible opportunity to read well, learn how to read well. Okay, so please bear with me. To turn to what makes a real political realism, there is the question of whether we are trapped in a vicious circle of fear and flag and nationalism and war as a structural phenomenon. Okay, the sentence itself is a wonderful example of a complicated sentence and a complex sentence. Look at how many ideas are there, right? To turn to what makes a real political realism, this is where the main idea, the main clause starts. Okay, this is just the phrase because it's incomplete and doesn't even have the subject verb combination like all clauses should have. There is the question of whether we are trapped in a vicious circle of X and Y. Okay, but the idea is there is the question of whether we are trapped in a vicious circle of whatever as a structural phenomenon, a vicious circle of A and B as a structural phenomenon. And that will give you, that question is related to the question of what makes a real political realism. What is political realism? That question is connected to whether we are trapped in a vicious circle. The vicious circle is of emotions like fear and flag and nationalism and war. Okay. Next, although I truly believe that turning his mind to what is civilization's oldest problems, and what are those oldest problems? You and me, us versus them, is really what makes a classic political theorist, such as Mearsheimer is. This guy is a political theorist. That's what the sentence is trying to tell us. I must say that I'm not convinced of his realism's philosophical assumptions or micro foundation. So whenever you see although, okay, although is your subordinate conjunction, you know that you're going to expect two ideas and they will be in contrast to each other. Okay. So although is not a contrast marker, mind you, it doesn't connect to a previous sentence, but it will tell you that within the sentence there are two opposing ideas. I truly believe that turning his mind to what is civilization's oldest problems is really what makes a classical political theorist. Idea number one. I must say that I am not convinced of his realism's philosophical assumptions. Okay, so turning his mind to civilization's oldest problem makes a political theorist, and he is a political theorist. However, I do not like his philosophical assumptions. Okay, so one plus and one minus. Next, as I have sought to show, his human nature of fear not only is underdeveloped and naive, negative, and we got negative here if you remember, or idealistic, it also is not substantiated. So criticism in this sentence. Now, my central mission has been to utilize Freudian psychoanalytical theory as a methodological background to expound, explain or propagate or advocate the concept of fear in world politics. Okay, and it's a very easy word to connect here. Okay, so you have to be careful. Don't just randomly use words to connect sentences. See what he's talking about. My central mission has been to utilize Freudian psychoanalytical theory as a methodological background. My mission has to be to use this to do what? To expound the concept of fear in world politics. This is the main idea. Okay. To showcase what Freud's human nature of fear might look like, I have sought to challenge, again negative, Mearsheimer's recent interpretation of human nature, which immediately, even before you finish reading the sentence, you should make this connection. His human nature of fear, interpretation of human nature and the role of fear, which means these two sentences are talking about the same guys, same concept. The only red flag would have been if the tone here is different from the tone here, but tone here is negative, tone here is negative. Solves your problem, right? Look at this. Such a big, complicated looking question with a lot of funky sentences, but it's actually not that difficult, isn't it? If you had to just read once. So Mearsheimer's recent interpretation of human nature and the role of fear in offensive neorealism's political thinking. So I've sought to challenge this guy's opinion using Freud's human nature of fear. So you know that from this I can understand that the author is positive about Freud. Now my central mission has been to utilize Freudian psychoanalytical theory, positive about Freud. Okay, these are, you have to look for connections like this. If this sentence was negative about Freud, you know straight away that one of these two won't be in the paragraph. So tone mismatch is a big clue for odd one out questions. Okay, but here tone matches beautifully. So tone matches beautifully here, tone matches beautifully here, tone matches beautifully here. What is the odd one out? This becomes the odd one out, isn't it? Why will this be odd one? He's talking about fear and flag, right? Nationalism and war. But what is the main idea? Please look at the main idea. He's talking about political realism too, which is what we're talking about here. Political theorist, isn't it? Political thinking here in this sentence as well. So it's not, this sentence, if you notice, is not from a different essay. It's from the same essay, same idea too. Why is this the odd one out? There is the question of whether we are trapped in a vicious circle. That is the idea. Are we trapped? The author still doesn't have an opinion. Are we trapped in that circle? That's a different discussion. What is the discussion in these 4 sentences? What is the author talking about? The author is not talking about are we trapped. He's not trying to answer any such questions. He's saying, I have a problem with Mearsheimer's interpretation of human nature and the role of fear. I don't agree with this guy's opinion about role of fear. What that opinion is, it's underdeveloped and naive, so not answered here. It's not answered here. If you notice, it's not answered here, not answered here. So we don't know. So that's why these 4 sentences are different from this sentence. Okay. So one read question. You read 5 sentences once, you'll get the odd one out, which is why never odd one out questions. That's why I really like them, because you do not have to be a subject expert. You don't have to be a grammar expert. You don't even have to be a parasembles expert. You still get those 3 marks. Do it very fast. One read and you can spot. All you have to do is make idea connections. Again, not word connections. Word connections are clues, but idea connections give you confirmation, right? Human nature of fear by Mearsheimer, I don't like. That's what the sentence says. Human nature of fear concept by Mearsheimer, I don't like. Mearsheimer, I don't like. Freud, I like. Fraud, I like. That's the connections. Okay. Let's look at the second question. Again, you can pause the video and solve it for yourself. Suddenly look at shorter sentences, and it's such a relief. Anyway, phrenology has an old-fashioned ring to it. Independent sentence. Okay. Also, these are the kind of sentences which start paragraphs. Why do these kind of sentences start paragraphs? Because it's a vague sentence. It's a clickbait. Again, has an old-fashioned ring. What do you mean by old-fashioned ring? The rest of the paragraph will explain. So this sentence won't make any sense towards the end of a paragraph generally. Okay. So remember this context, this particular thought that we are indulging here. When you read vague sentences, they generally tend to come in the top part of the paragraph. Paragraphs don't end with vague sentences, generally start with vague sentences. And in every paragraph is in an inverted pyramid structure. Okay. We always go from generic to specific. Will help you in parasembles as well. Okay. Remember this. However, which is our beautiful contrast marker, one of the best words in the language. However, phrenology is once again rearing its lumpy head. Straight away, we have negative for phrenology. How do I know negative? Rearing is generally used for the snake rears its head. Okay. And unfortunately, I mean, humans are more dangerous than snakes, but snakes are always considered negative for some weird reason. But anyways, phrenology is once again rearing its lumpy head. This is again a negative term. If you understand what is phrenology a little deeper, I mean, long back anthropology, very early studies, people used to associate disorders, mental disorders, with the number of depressions in your skull. Okay, some funky, it's called pseudoscience, by the way. It's not exactly science, but read up about it. As you notice, the source is there at the bottom. Wonderful website, Aeon. Read a lot of articles from there. Read up this passage. Okay, it's good practice. Anyways, however, phrenology is once again rearing its lumpy head, negative, which means in front of this sentence, I need something positive or at least neutral. Okay, that mental note you have to make. This one has an odd positive note. It was old-fashioned ring. Ring is a positive word, by the way. Something brings back. You never, bad memories, we don't say, don't use the word ring a lot. Okay. There is long and tangled history to the way phrenology has been used as a withering insult, negative. We had like to think that judging people's worth based on the size and shape of their skull is a practice that's well behind us. We had like to think it's something of the past. Now, at this point, at this juncture, your brain should start working, make connections. Okay. This guy here in this sentence is saying, we thought that, okay, what is this part here? Judging people's worth based on the size and shape of their skull is one long explanation for a possible word that we've already read about. And that's why this is a pun. Lumpy head is negative in terms of it's problematic head that is rearing up this subject, but also why lumpy? Because the study itself involves size and shape. Okay. That's the importance of vocabulary. If your vocabulary is really strong and you knew what was phrenology, this question is just bread and butter. Okay. It's just gift for you. It's like the test setter is saying, just take 3 marks and just go away. Okay. Anyways, it sounds like it belongs in a history book. The moment you read this, it belongs. See, and again, good readers make these connections all the time. because expressions mean the same thing. Words are different, but expression, that's why I understand, process the expressions phrase by phrase and clause by clause. It belongs in a history book is exactly the same as a practice that's well behind us. Exactly the same, okay? So you should just straight away make the connection. You have to be able to make it. If you did not make it when you're solving this question, it means you're not reading well, okay? You have to get better at reading, okay? I don't care what percentiles you're worried about, what B schools you get. That's not, I'm not going to put that kind of pressure, okay? I don't even believe in that philosophy, but you should be a good reader no matter what you want to do in life. Anyways, it sounds like it belongs in a history book. It sounds like a practice that's well behind us. In both sentences, the author is saying, dude, we don't want to talk about this topic now. It's just too ancient. File somewhere between bloodletting and velocipedes. So these two sentences are telling us the same thing, saying, oh, phrenology is just something of the past, okay? However, it is once again rearing its lumpy head, present tense. So this is the connection you should be able to make, okay? 4, 5, and 2. Sounds like it is from the past. It sounds like it belongs in a history book. Phrenology, this sentence again, obviously considered no prizes for guessing because has an old-fashioned ring to it. It's something that's past, well past, from the past, behind us. It's something that belongs in a history. Belongs in a history book is an idiomatic expression, means it's something very old. It's not modern. Belongs in a history book. Idiomatic expression. Idiomatic expressions are expressions where the set of words don't have literal meaning. They have some other contextual meaning, okay? So you don't literally take the word. For example, he's behaving like a cat on a hot tin roof. Now, it doesn't mean that it's behaving like a cat, not acting all cute and all that. Not like that. Cat on a hot tin roof is like nervous and fidgety. So that's called idiomatic expression. You have to know the meaning of the idiom to know the exact meaning of the words. You cannot guess their meanings. The more you read, the better, again, as you should. So phrenology has an old-fashioned ring. Check. We'd like to think it's past, practice that's well behind us. It sounds, it belongs in a history book. However, that's why however is one of my favorite words, which just gives away the answer. So why is 3 the odd one out? Because the other 4 obviously are so tightly coupled. 3 doesn't have a place also. How else can you spot it? Withering insult, okay? This is talking about using phrenology as an insult on whom we don't know, why we don't know, okay? What kind of insult is it is we don't know. So it's leaving out a lot of open-ended questions. So it's downstream to the other 4 sentences. So anyway, it's out of the paragraph, isn't it? So one way or the other, this becomes the easy odd one out, okay? That's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. If you learned something from it, please share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel. Okay. Thanks a lot. Peace out.